And I'm here with another comic review. Before I get into that, just a reminder that Mighty Mascots number 10 triple-sized anniversary issue still live on Indiegogo for another 10 days or so. Get in on that. I know it's Christmas time and it might be a little tough to back some campaigns, but good news is we will be in demand after the 10 days runs out. So you should be able to get this comic well into the springtime as we create the book and things like that. Also, PlasticCityComicCon registration is now live on the PlasticCityComicCon website. We are about 1/4 full already with vendors and artists and writers and etc. I think we'll probably be full sometime in the spring as well if applications still continue to come in like they have been. So yeah, so get in on Plastic City Comic Con. That's going to be a great show coming in late summer 2025. All right, on to this week's comic review. This week I am reviewing Calavera P.I. This is a number 1 issue. It's a 4-issue miniseries. This is put out by Oni Press. The creative team on this is writer, artist, and colorist is Marco Finnegan. And the lettering is done by Jeff Eckelberry. And that's pretty much it. It's a one-man show here. Let me read off the plot line from the Oni Press website, because I don't like to spoil much here. So, multiple Eisner and Harvey Award-winning publisher of groundbreaking comics and graphic novels is proud to unveil Calavera P.I., a daring new 4-part series coming from Marco Finnegan, the creator of Morning Star and Night People. On November 6th, walk the shadow-shrouded alleys of Hollywoodland to solve the mystery of Calavera, a newly resurrected private investigator whose first case is about to straddle the blood-soaked boundaries between the living and the dead. In 1925, Juan Calavera died a hero after a career spent outside the law defending the Chicano barrios where the police refused to operate. He earned a reputation for fearlessness and a gunshot in the stomach. Now, 5 years later, on Dia de los Muertos, his restless spirit has been summoned from the grave to help a desperate former colleague unravel a kidnapping all too close to home. With only days to solve the case before he's called back to the underworld, can Calavera reveal the identity of the masked human trafficker known only as La Fantasma before tragedy strikes again, and solve the mystery of. And I haven't been buying it, but I've been, in the shop when I'm processing, the weekly subscriptions. I end up looking through a bunch of them, and I gotta say they look really good. So I may get those when they're collected into a trade paperback. But yeah, something's changed with Oni in the last year or two, and they're putting out some really interesting stuff. And this Calavera one caught my eye. I also had put this on the recommends a couple of months ago because it looked cool. The cover is very striking. Like picture you'll see in the thumbnails here, it's like basically a skeleton detective, and he's got the trench coat, the fedora, the cigarette, and a gun, and I was like, this is awesome. I've said this many times on other reviews as well. I love private detective. I like noir stories. Anything set in LA, big city kind of thing. I love it. I love the contrast. And Ed Brubaker's one of my favorite creators, writes the best crime comics. This was good, though. Like, to get back to this book, I liked a lot about it. I jotted down a bunch of notes here, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about Marco Finnegan. I did not realize he had other books that he's done. I'll have to try to seek out Morning Star and Night People, which is I don't know if he did those for Oni Press. I'll have to look into those and see. But I really liked Calavera P.I. I thought it was really good. It reminded me a lot of, there's another book I reviewed a couple of years ago called The Good Asian, which was, I'm blanking on the creator's name, but he was trying to create like an Asian private investigator that existed in the 30s, but I think it was San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, not LA. But it was kind of cool. Like I like seeing different diverse characters as detective, and in Good Asian, this Calavera P.I. reminded me of the Good Asian in a lot of ways, you know, where you're seeing like a minority character as the main detective, which I thought was cool. It's like, you know, I feel like it's a whole other dimension to stories we haven't seen, and I really like where this is going. The first issue was a great setup, and it kind of just ends right when it gets going. So you're like, oh, I need more of this. So I'm gladly gonna get the rest of this series. I'll have to find. I think 2 is out now, so I'll have to find 2, and then I'll have to get the rest of it. And I like it. I recommend it. So some things I wanted to mention here. They talk about on the Oni site, it sounds like they interviewed Marco, and he talked about what he loved about noir. You know, he talked about, I'm going to read this paragraph. He said, I love film noir, pulp novels, and comic strips from the 1930s and 50s. Those set in LA, I love even more. There's something about seeing the underside of a town you're familiar with reflected back at you in black and white or written about in newsprint. Yeah, I love that too. And he also goes on to talk about, like what I mentioned earlier, how there was an underrepresentation of Chicanos in Los Angeles. And if they were in novels at the time, they were often like the villains or thugs or drivers and things like that. So I love that he took that and kind of channeled it and made it into the main character of this story. But also having him as a skeleton is really cool, I gotta say. And I like the character a lot, the Juan Calavera. It starts off in the beginning of the story. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but basically you get to see him in action when he's still human. And I know he was Marco was channeling detectives of the time and stuff, but I also got like a Zorro vibe from the character. I don't know why. I think it's probably because it's, you know, a guy that's protecting people and, you know, a hero basically. So I got a little bit of a Zorro vibe, and I do like and he also has another character, a woman reporter named Maria Valdez, who is not a partner or not really a lover really, but like a friend that's you know, helping him or reporting on crimes and stuff at the time. And so it kind of has a little bit of a Clark Kent, Lois Lane kind of vibe to it as well. And plus the time period and everything is really good. I like the look of the artwork too. Now, I don't know if it'll come through on these thumbnails that I'm showing, but it's got a very European coloring scheme to it. And it also reminds me of a lot when that time during Detective Comics where they only did like the 1 or 2 colors. And I know that was kind of controversial. People didn't really love it. I always thought it was cool though. So I like that when they try to take a chance and do different things. But I like the color scheme on this book. It's very muted and very European style coloring, which I really dug. And he also did something to the paper. And I don't know if that's to make it look like newsprint, but there's like, you could tell it's like a stained kind of look. Like he was trying to get across that, like someone might have put their cup of coffee on this book, you know, while they were reading it or something like that. So it has that look. So the paper's kind of raggy too. And I think he was maybe trying to channel like the newsprint look, because that's what it looks like a lot, is like newsprint style coloring and the look of the pages, which is kind of cool. What other notes did I write? Oh, also he did at the end of end of the issue, there is like newspaper excerpts. It's almost like reminds me of like the end of Watchmen. Each issue of Watchmen had like extra material, and I love when books do that. And all the newspaper excerpts are written by Maria Valdez, the reporter character from the issue. And I love that supplemental stuff. I always have. I'll always read the letters pages, always read the thoughts from the author and things like that. I love getting into the creative process of the creator and love seeing where they're coming from with this stuff. And the first issue, even though I didn't think it was enough to satisfy me, it is a great setup for this entire 4-issue run. So normally I will read a 4-issue series together after I get all the issues, but I wanted to read number 1 to make sure I liked it, and I did. I loved it. So now I'm like kind of hanging on. I'm going to wait for 2, 3, and 4 to come out before I read the entire thing. Also, let me see. Critique artwork looks great. Marco is like the full package. He does the coloring, he does the artwork, he does the writing, and I like his style. Now, he based the look of the character after, he mentions here somewhere, Jose Guadalupe Posada. I guess he used to draw a bunch. Calavera, I guess, is also means skeleton from what I gathered. And he had, I went and looked it up. He mentions there was a picture that he drew of a skeleton, holding a glass of wine and smoking a cigar. And that's where he got inspired to do this character. And I went and looked at it and I was like, oh my God, it's perfect. So if you Google Jose Guadalupe Posada Calavera, you'll see the pictures that I'm talking about. It's really cool. So I like that a lot. So it's a lot of cool things, and like, so if you like detective stories, if you like noir, if you like kind of like a little hints of horror, I think you'd love this book. So check it out. So artwork is good. The storytelling, you can follow everything perfectly. The lettering was good. So it's all around, solidly put together book. I do recommend. The price is, let's see, it's about $4.99, which is our standard price nowadays for a color comic. It's it's about the 32 pages plus the bonus material at the end, which is another 2 pages, I think. And yeah, color, but it's like I said, European coloring and very muted, and it's got a newsprint kind of look to it. So I'd recommend it. I'd tell you, check out some of the stuff Oni Press is coming out with. Their relaunch of EC that I mentioned at the beginning of the review looks really good. They just released one this week that's like horror story set around Christmas, and the cover the cover has this family opening up a present, and then they're looking at like a severed head, and they're all in shock. Even the family dog is next to them in shock too. It's kind of a funny cover. But yeah, I love what they're doing. And they also, I just did a recommendation for December. They have another series coming from Justin Jordan, which looks awesome. Looks like another revenge story. So I'm hoping they continue to do this kind of stuff. I love seeing crime comics and some of this, pulp kind of adventures coming from them, and the EC stuff. It's great. So keep up the good work, Oni Press. And Marco, I am in for the entire run. If you're seeing this review, I'll have to try to seek out some of your other work and see what I think of it. So, but all right, everybody, check out Calavera P.I. Tell them ICR sent you, and I hope you enjoy it. We're off for the live streams for the next couple of weeks. I don't know if you saw our live stream Monday. We will be back in the new year. I think the second week of January, I think we're back doing the live streams, but I'll keep putting videos up these next few weeks, including I'm probably going to do the best 10 best indie comics of 2024 coming up, and I'll probably break that out into 2 parts. And yeah, so we'll talk to you later. Have a great holiday if you're watching this video right before Christmas, and most importantly, read some comics. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, it's Christmas time. Grab your snacks. Keep Johnny and Harry are bringing the facts. Indie comics, they're the best. Better than reindeer, you can't forget the rest. Oh ho ho, let's all go to the Indie Comics Relay Show. Drawing, laughing, spreading cheer. It's the goofiest Christmas of the year. So hit subscribe, don't delay. Join the fun this holiday. Keep Johnny and Harry say Merry Christmas from the relay.